welcome to Lunchtime News here on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Mariam Gunavijaya. Before we head on to our bulletin, let's take a look at your headlines this afternoon.
Quarantine curfew extended to the 21st of September. Prime Minister travels to Italy. Minister of Environment calls for a report over the filing of lagoons in the eastern province. Sri Lanka takes on South Africa in a T20 encounter today.
In your lead story this afternoon, the quarantine curfew has been extended until Tuesday, the 21st of this month. The decision was reached at a meeting of the special committee appointed to curb the spread of COVID-19, chaired by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
The ongoing quarantine curfew will continue to be in effect until 4 a.m. on the 21st of September. This was confirmed by media spokesperson to the President, Kingsley Ratnayaka, in a tweet. Minister of Health, Keheliya Rambukwella, in a tweet said that the ongoing quarantine curfew will be in effect until the 21st of this month and that the government is hoping to open up the country without any potential risk in the future as COVID-19 cases in the country are gradually reducing. Adding further, the Health Minister requested the general public to get vaccinated during this period.
The Ministry of Health says the decision on whether to reopen the country when the number of reported cases has reduced should be taken after considering a number of other factors. The Deputy Director General of Health Services made this statement during a media briefing held this morning.
There is a reduction in the number of cases. However, the number of cases that have reduced is not satisfactory. After the number of cases reduce, the number of deaths will also begin to reduce. We are still seeing the deaths that are caused during the surge in the number of cases. The reduction in the number of cases is a green light to reopen the country. But what is important is whether the number of cases that reduced is enough to reopen the country. It must be considered along with a number of other factors before the decision is reached.
The total number of fully vaccinated people in Sri Lanka has exceeded 10 million. A total of 10,211,537 people have received both doses of COVID-19 vaccine in the country. The epidemiology unit announced that 352,008 people were vaccinated yesterday. 201,834 people were inoculated with the Sinopharm vaccine, while 111,870 of them had received the first dose. In addition, 13,040 people were administered with the second dose of the Moderna vaccine and 669 people received the second dose of the Covishield vaccine. The COVID-19 vaccination program continued in several parts of the country today. All economic centres across the island continue to remain open today. Farmers had brought in large amounts of their produce to the Dambulla Special Economic Zone today. Farmers present at the Dambulla Special Economic Centre said that as the economic centres open once in every 2 days, they do not get a fair price for their produce. Large stocks of produce from across the island were brought into the Colombo Manning market today. However, there was only a few merchants present at the market. Large stock of fish had also been brought into the Paliagoda fish market. Large stock of produce were brought into the Kapetipola Special Economic Zone today. The Tamuttegama Special Economic Centre continued to remain open for wholesale trade today.
The 76th General Assembly of the United Nations is due to begin on the 21st of this month. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will attend the assembly for the first time.
The 76th General Assembly of the United Nations will begin in New York on the 21st of September. This is the first time that the President will travel overseas for an international conference. The President is due to hold discussions with a number of state leaders on the sidelines of the Assembly on economic, educational and agricultural sectors. The President will attend the General Assembly with Foreign Minister G.L. Peiris, Chief Advisor to the President Lalit Weeratunga and Foreign Secretary Admiral Professor Jayanath Kolambage. The President will be attending the General Assembly with a small delegation considering the current situation in the country and his personal policies. This is the smallest delegation that will take part in the sessions of the United Nations General Assembly in the history of Sri Lanka. First Lady Ayoma Rajapaksa will take part in the tour at her own expense.
In a headline-making story this afternoon, a delegation led by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa left to Italy this morning.
Issuing a press release, the Prime Minister's office said that Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa left the Bandaranaike International Airport this morning for a diplomatic visit in Italy. According to the Prime Minister's office, during the visit, the Prime Minister is scheduled to deliver the keynote address at the inaugural session of the G20 Interfaith Forum Italy 2021. The delegation, including Foreign Minister G.L. Pidis and the Secretary to the Prime Minister Gamini Senarath.
Residents of Pottuwil point out that a group of people are illegally filling up the Pottukali Lagoon and the Manthondi Vaver in Pottuwil.
Several vavers in Ampara Pottuwil have dried up due to the dry weather prevalent in the area. The illegal filling up of these vavers is taking place against such a backdrop. Area residents point out that the vavers are being filled using sand mined from various other places. This has also affected the Pottukali Lagoon in Pottuwil. Sand has been dumped at various locations in the vicinity of the lagoon, and a group is preparing to fill up the lagoon as well. According to our correspondent, this group had filled up about 10 acres of the lagoon and prepared the lands for cultivation. We inquired on the matter from the Coast Conservation Officer in charge of Pottuwil. He said that the matter will be investigated and swift legal action will be taken. The Minister of Environment has called for a report on the filling up of lagoons in the eastern province. The minister said that there have been reports of regional politicians being involved in the filling up of lagoons in the Batticaloa district in the eastern province. Many incidents of filling up of vavers and similar illegal activities were reported during the past week. A sand racket at a vaver of the Polonnaruwa Kadavala Vaver village. Businessmen are digging up sand close to the Kadavala Vaver against a backdrop where countless requests of farmers in the area to remove sediment from the vaver have been disregarded by authorities. An illegal vaver being constructed in a forest reserve in the 14th Gramaseva division in Uttarakanda Yodakandiya Tisamaharamaya. Farmers point out that the construction of this new vaver will destroy the Siembalagas vaver.
The Monetary Board of the Central Bank reached a decision to discourage the importation of non-essential and non-urgent items. Now, the CBSL statement mentioned 693 items. Samaga Jana Balawega MP Ashok Abesinghe expressed his views on the matter during a media briefing held today.
Now the people have received an opportunity to make the sacrifices the President spoke of. Anyone who would like to support the government can stop using those essential items. Therefore, there is no need of bringing down these goods to Sri Lanka. There are refrigerators, mobile phones, tires, apparel and undergarments in that list. Now we can make sacrifices by not wearing any undergarments so that we can support the vistas of prosperity and splendor policy statement of the President. I hope that the people of this country will make that sacrifice for the government and stop wearing undergarments from here on.
Journalists yesterday questioned Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohita Begunawardena about the progress of Chinese investment in the Hambantota port.
හම්බන්තොට වරාය දැන් බදු දීලානේ තියෙන්නේ. දැන් රටක් විදියට ඩොලර් ප්‍රශ්නක් තියෙනවා. දැන් ඉතින් මොන හරි ওই බද්දට හින්දා මොකක් හරි ඩොලර් ගලාගෙන යීමක් හරි තියෙනවද අපේ රටට කොහොම හරි මොකක් හරි මේ දවස්වල.
ඕක මගෙන් නෙවෙයි අහන්න ඕන ගිහිල්ලා අහන්න ඕන.
You should not be questioning me on this matter. Instead, you should ask former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe about this and the government of good governance. The sale of the Hambantota port will not give anything. However, as the government, we are now trying to construct factories in the vicinity of the Hambantota port. Concerning the sale of the port, the government of good governance should be ashamed.
විකුණපු විදිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් කතා කරොත් එහෙම කරුණාකරලා ඔය යහපාලන ආණ්ඩුව එක උන්නෑ කෙනෙකුටවත් රෙද්දක් ඇඳන් නම් ඉන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක හරියට ඉතින් අර මේ ගමක තමන් සින්නක් කරම තාත්තා ගිහිල්ලා ගෙදර දරුවන්ට අයිතිව තියෙන මහ ගෙදරයි වත්තයි විකුණනට පස්සේ ආපහු ගිහිල්ලා ගන්න යනවයි කියන එක ඉතින් ඊටාම බැරෑරුම් කාර්යයක්. ඒක කරන්න බැරි වැඩක්.
A proposal has been presented to hand over a 13-acre plot of land bordering the CICT, SGT and East Container Terminals of the Colombo port for a private-public partnership. According to the cabinet paper presented on the 21st of July, the land is proposed to be handed over to the CICT terminal, of which China owns a majority share. The project is to be carried out on a build-operate-transfer basis, and it has been decided to appoint a committee of ministry secretaries to hold discussions on the matter. The port city has already been established as a landmass under the sole authority of China. 13 acres of land at the Colombo port belonging to the Ports Authority is now being given to China at a very cheap price. These are the assets of this country. The Port Authority can carry out these projects and earn money for the country. Why are they selling it off at just a mere 800,000 rupees per acre? When these kind of corrupt activities are carried out, trade unions, students and activists take to the streets. They brought in emergency regulations to suppress these protests and not to find essential food items or provide them to the general public. We are against the sale of local assets. You may remember that the SLFP entered into an agreement with the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. We had clearly mentioned our policies in that agreement. We will abide by the policies of Bandaranayaka. The Hambantota port was given to China. The port city was given. Another 13 acres are now being given to China. That is why we warn the people that there is a risk of Sri Lanka becoming a Chinese colony. Now this is becoming a reality. The people of this country must stand up against this.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna has donated dry rations to medical staff that tend to COVID-19 patients.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna will provide the necessary personal protective equipment and essential medicines to the medical staff at hospitals. According to the party, the donations will be made to the National Hospital, the IDH, Karapitiya Teaching Hospital and the Badulla General Hospital in the coming few days. Against a backdrop where it has been more than 1.5 years since this virus entered our country, we do not see that the government has taken proper action to curb the situation as of yet. There is no proper plans in place to provide necessary equipment and essential medicines. The health workers are battling this pandemic with minimum facilities. While urging the government to take proper action, we did what we can to help the health sector of Sri Lanka as a political party and citizens of this country.
රෝගය සමග සටන් වදින මේ සෞඛ්‍ය කාර්ය මණ්ඩල වලට අපේ පැත්තෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන් උදව්ව හැටියට තමයි අපි මේ භාණ්ඩ ප්‍රමාණය රෝහල ලබා දෙන්න කල්පනා කරේ.
In news overseas, Chinese President Xi Jinping has spoken with his US counterpart Joe Biden, their first call in 7 months. And finally, in some sports news, the first T20 encounter between hosts Sri Lanka and South Africa is scheduled to start at 7 p.m. tonight at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Lunchtime News here on TV1. Thank you for watching. A very good day to you and take care.